Today is September 17th, 7:28 p.m. Had a shift at work today from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. I woke up at 5 a.m. this morning. Got out of bed, wasn't particularly energetic the previous night before on September 16th, 2023, which was a Saturday. Hung out with my friend. We walked through the mall. Not much notable happened there. Dropped by a Books-A-Million. Picked up a few books. I picked up a copy of Godzilla, the official guide to the King of Monsters. The cover is wonderful. It's bright red. It's got a wonderful bumpy texture, going with some cell shading on the silhouette of a stock image of Shin Godzilla that they have on the cover there. Beautiful. Got a lot of great screen caps, high quality screen caps, a lot of posters, lots of bits of information in there. Wonderful, wonderful. I've been trying to grow my library of physical media because the internet and streaming, I was talking about it with a buddy today. Internet and streaming services are amazing. They're great for convenience. They're not helping they're helping the companies, but they're not much helping the creators of the things that they make for the company. And when it comes down to it, there ends up being a lot that can fall onto the consumer because at the end of the day, a company really is at the loyalty, not the loyalty, but is at the is in servitude of the user, doing everything for them, obviously because they want their money. So it seems kind of weird that something like HBO Max now, formerly known HBO Max, now known as Max, I'll still call it HBO Max, uh, run and owned by a division of Warner Bros. Uh, a whole part of that. Say I can't tell you exactly what the logistics of it are, but Warner Bros. And HBO, they fall under the same thing, right? And it is a mystery to me. Not a mystery, I know why it is. But isn't it weird? Warner Bros. Makes something like Harry Potter. And just every once in a while, Harry Potter will just flicker off the site so they can go migrate to another site, just like a few of the sequels. I find that not infuriating, but very just like, well, I was gonna watch that this weekend. You could pirate it. I know you could pirate. People pirate. I can't condone pirating. I can't say I see much wrong with it either on that grander scale. It's the same thing as stealing asking for a free water cup and then filling it up with what to you would be $1.69 worth of soda to the company, about 25 cents, or maybe even less thereof, worth of soda syrup and a bunch of carbonated water. But that's just me, and that's just me, man. Yesterday I also picked up, let me see if I can get this exact, Super Mario Adventures. I picked it up thinking it was a schlocky, cheap coloring book from the way it looked, but the image of Mario and Luigi on the front holding their thumbs up kept me quite intrigued. Flipping through it, I was pleasantly surprised to see the wonderful, refreshing, homemade, I guess is a term that I would use to describe it, art style. A story by, I'm going to mess this up, Kentaro Takikuma, and art by Charlie Nozawa. I'm flipping through it. I heard that these originally appeared in some issues of Nintendo Power, which is why every few pages you get a little to be continued thing in the corner, in one of the panels. It is a very visually pleasing book, and I've been enjoying the light skimming through it so far. Let me see the other two books I got here. Picked up some books yesterday. No movies or music like I planned. Music library and movie library growing steadily. I have the soundtrack for the Illumination Super Mario Bros. Movie coming in very soon. Very excited about that. There was a listing for it on Amazon. I had all the time in the world and all the opportunity to pre-order it. However, I kept putting it off despite it only being 26 bucks and ended up having to pay $10 extra for a used copy because I'm not sure where else I can get it. I'm sure if I did some digging, I could find a better deal, but it's $10, and I'm really, really in love with the music from that movie. Really, really, really am. I'm buying that soundtrack before I actually buy the movie, which I have lower on my priority list because I could obviously just find it anywhere. The other two books, picked up a total of four books. The third book, A Little Book of Pinup Vargas by Diane Hansen, The Warriors. I'm probably saying Vargas wrong. It's not Vargas, maybe it's Vargas. Not sure. I'm not going to be too particular with pronouncing names. Most of these people are either dead or they'll never hear this. Most people will not hear this, and I prefer it that way. But I also prefer it to be public because thrill. It is a catalog more of airbrushed pinup art that would be given to soldiers on the side of ships, more the old campy stuff where it's like the pinups of like the girls on the navy ships and the lifesavers with the sailor caps on. Very classy, very interesting. Uh, always, I always in the art that I draw, I always like to reference not real photos. Real photos are nice, but I always look at art done by other people. I like to see their interpretations, what they accentuate, what they don't, what they get rid of. I like to see what they think are important, what they think they are important. I like to see what they think is important to show to the viewer to make a convincing, appealing image. And that's why whenever I reference art of humans, I'll usually go for semi-realism to realism to anything with accentuated appeal, whether it be action, sex appeal, anything like that. And I kind of go off of that. Flipping through this book, very beautiful, tasteful. Actually, never mind. I'm on page 51, and there's a pinup of a grown woman, Marilyn Monroe style beauty of a woman dressed up like a baby in a crib, and that is creeping me out. She's wearing a diaper, and that is not sitting well with me. The diaper is not full, for those of you wondering. I will not be putting an image up on screen because I do not wish to edit this at all. I do not wish to listen to my voice at all. I'm going to. Well, I don't need to tell you any of that. Fourth and final book from the small but strong haul yesterday, and a bit more iffy on this one. I want to see where it takes me. I've been trying to get into Blender modeling lately, more Blender modeling, that is, more environments, making not more realistic environments, but more appealing ones. I'm not looking for tips, but if you have any, I would love to hear them. If you have any uh, just rules of thumb that you kind of keep by your side that you like to come back to every once in a while, I would love to hear them. And for the final book, to kind of help me in that endeavor, uh, because I really do enjoy environments and vehicles. Vehicles, I think more so. Vehicles are a bit more difficult for me, but I enjoy designing them more as I get to see me adding more and more and more onto them. But when it comes to environments, I kind of hit a brick wall, but I'm a brick wall at some point where I'm just like, I can't add, oh, like, I might add some trash cans or some mailboxes, and then it starts getting slower and slower. And it's like, well, I don't know what else to add other than people. And then it has to turn into a full blown project, which I am not interested in. So, enough build up for the final book. We have Cabin Porn, Inspiration for Your Quiet Place Somewhere. edited by Zach Clean. Zach Clean. Zach Clean? Zach Clean. Kleim. That's a new rule of thumb. If I can't pronounce the name, I will spell it out. And it is a wonderful, neat. I love the colors of the cover, of the inside. They're all beautifully. The colors are of all the photos are so rich and diverse, yet they're all muted to a way where they all fit together very seamlessly. Actually, the color scheme of the book very closely uh, matches with the little book of Vargas, Vargas, and I quite enjoy that, as they're also very similar in size. So these two books look very very clean and pleasant next to each other. One of pinups of seductful ladies, and one of just absolutely wonderful, beautiful cabins, and not just cabins in the wood, like wooden cabins. I'm talking like nice brick ones. We got some good dirt house ones. Just like a surprising amount of variety. Like you think of cabin, you just think of like a little log thing on the side of a lake on the edge of a forest, which really is an ideal cabin, but in the definition, I assume the actual definition, but the one that they accentuate in this book. Sorry if I think I'm holding a mic with one hand, so if this is getting a little too loud in your ear. But this book treats it as just small, personalized homes for one or more people. Obviously, one or more people, what am I saying? They split it up into a couple categories. One I'm looking at right now, that I'm kind of in the middle of, is tree houses. Very interesting, because growing up on HGTV and a lot of channels like that, you'd see home renovation videos, like this old house, stuff like that. I don't actually know if that one aired on that specific channel, but houses, shows like that, just about fixing up old homes, renovating old homes, making them look modern, adding some sort of chic kind of piece of art in the middle of the living room. Mayhaps the body of a motorcycle with a glass tabletop turned into a coffee table for some fucking reason. Just some really, really probably more enjoyable to the owners than anybody else. Why people like myself might pass harsh judgment on them. Uh, but one that I remember a lot of, that's almost nostalgic to me, because I've seen, or not I've seen, but it's taken a severe lack of absence in my life, is tree houses, is those tree house videos. Like well, my mind's a blank. I can't think of any tree house building video, not videos, but show titles. See our new generation has conditioned us. I can't even think of the word show. Been thinking about the word videos because it's all click, 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 click. I guess it's the same mentality when television came along, live television, click, 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 click. And I guess it's always going to be like that. History repeats itself. But I feel like that's a more existential talk for another day. I want to keep this one short. But just these videos, usually people who already own acres of land, they don't need a tree house, but it would be nice to have one instead of just buying another hangar and filling that one up. Like, why don't we get a guy to take one of our nice big trees? We planted it with our grandma's ashes, and then we'll put a wonderful big tree house on it, and then we won't do anything else because it's scary to run wiring through a tree or around it. But it'll look real pretty, and we could put a bed on the inside, maybe some star projection, and call it a day. And that's when I saw that chapter in the book about tree houses, I was very pleasantly surprised. I was like, oh, it was a slight wave of nostalgia, not in the sense of I recognize all these houses, but more in the sense of just kind of being around in the more modern era for a bit, and looking around. You go, oh, a boombox, one that plays a CD player, and it has big eyes like an alien. Like the speakers look like big alien eyes because they're just all big and round and bulbous. Mid 2000s. Kind of noticed that uh, early late 80s, more early late 80s, early 90s, more fashionable, sleek cars that were made to look like spaceships, but their method was the retrofuturism method. More round headlights, sleek fins, kind of like aerodynamic looking, but not actually aerodynamic body types. God, what beautiful, beautiful cars then. Early 2000s, they kind of moved to a bit more of a boxier style. Headlights got a lot more boxier, sleek. They took on more the look of just harsh, not harsh, but I'm on a business mission kind of type deal. They looked like briefcases. They looked like briefcases, and the men walking through briskly in New York City holding said briefcases. I have a meeting to go to, a foot massage with the CEO at 7, and then sushi with the boys. They wouldn't say with the boys back then. They say sushi with the lads. I believe. I believe that's what they would say. Sushi with the lads. And then mid 2000s to 2010, I feel like is an era that we haven't realized yet because we just got out of it. But at first, I hated everything from that era. Recognizing it, I was like, everything's so bulbous and round and weird looking, and kind of like matte and cheap and bleak. And in these recent months, as I've been trying to appreciate life more, kind of recognizing that no matter how bad things may seem, they will literally never not, to me at least in my situation. I know a lot of people have different situations. They will never not, to me, seem better in retrospect. No matter how bad things may seem, no matter what's going on in the world, when I look back, I'm only going to see the good. So why not focus on the good more in the moment? So when I look back on these moments, I'm filled with nothing but rich, detailed, happy thoughts. And one thing that I've been thinking about is trying to find ways to enjoy things or to appreciate things that I have not once done before. And one of those things was my subtle, not hatred, but lack of interest in slight. It's on the tip of my tongue. It starts with a D. Not dispose. Disapproval. No, not disapproval. Disdain? Something close to disdain, but I feel like there's a P and an L in that word that I'm not hitting. But my slight disdain for the cars of that era, just round, bulbousy kind of headlights. Even when they were new back then, it just seemed like they were all stripped of paint. Like a nice bright blue car would just kind of have some patches of like kind of glossy, and the rest would be like they looked like sandblasted. SUVs back then just didn't. They all looked the same. Even the technology then, even the boom boxes, they kind of looked like the cars with the big round bulbous speakers. All the CD players were like they weren't slick. I wouldn't call them slick or sleek. I wouldn't call them sleek. I would call them slick because they kind of had that tapering edge, kind of like beveled. Like it was like when graphic design was new, and they figured out that you have gradients and drop shadows and strokes and embossing. So on t-shirts, like WWE t-shirts, they would just put it on everything, and it kind of feels like that way, but for the modern design of that era, excuse me, that they would just kind of do whatever. It's like, well, we got to have a taper here. There's got to be like a gradual grow here. Maybe for the boys we'll put a tribal tattoo. For the girls we'll put a bunch of swirls and some silhouettes of a butterfly on a pink background with a white stroke. You know what I'm saying? But God, what creative tech for that era, because it was all there was only like a few things that were actually like new, like CD players, iPods, and then probably just some new forms of media. Maybe portable DVD players, but I wouldn't really call that its something. I probably could say like the boom of DVDs and home video, going from video rental stores more to just owning things. Uh, because things were getting a little bit more dangerous. Parents were getting a little bit more paranoid. There's a whole housing crisis. Kind of find that interesting. Where was I going with this? Where was I going with this? Well, modern design kind of has its own design. Modern design kind of has its own vibe about it too. That I am beginning to not appreciate but recognize and appreciate it as much as I can now, despite me not being a whole big fan of it because I kind of find it uninteresting. But then again, I'll always find something uninteresting in with a preference for what has already come. So I'm trying to enjoy things more in the moment. And one thing I notice is that a lot more newer modern tech uh, is gone back from slick to sleek. I'm not going to talk about cars because cars is it's the same thing as in the 80s. They look like spaceships, but our idea of what a spaceship looked like in the 80s was a lot more bubbly and interesting. And now we think spaceships look more like actual, like what a spaceship would look like it's maximum aerodynamic C. The headlights are all just all the headlights are just slits now in the silhouettes of what a headlight would look like. So like instead of just like a triangle that follows like the silhouette and the tapers of a car, it's just the a triangle line of really bright LEDs that follows the same thing, and vice versa. I said vice versa. There was no need to say vice versa there, I believe. I am pondering on that thought. Modern design has kind of taken, not for cars, but for home appliances and tech that we carry in our pocket and stuff like that, it's taken more of a kind of taken on the minimalist approach with I don't know how to put it, more geometric shapes or more basic shapes with very basic modifications. Like if you look at not a boombox because we don't really got boomboxes anymore. But you could still probably buy them. You could probably buy ones that look old, but they'll be more instead of just full on box shaped or as round as they could possibly be to go against the grain of box shape. They'll be boxed with like a perfect like mathematical like rounded edge. So like from the top it looks like a perfect like mathematically planned pill, and from the front it kind of looks like a square. So it's almost like a hybrid of both of the appeals. And I feel like that's what companies are pushing now, just more like square shaped things with perfect edges, more pill shaped things, just more like very it's sleek in a very different way, sleek and not an aerodynamic C kind of way. I feel I just bought some headphones the other day. I have a pair, not the headphones that I bought, but I have a pair of Samsons. If you guys watch a channel called Dank Pods, he does some reviews on iPods and headphones and whatnot. And one of the pairs of headphones that he recommended were very good for a pair for $30. I can't the exact name it escapes me. I'll put a link in the description. But a pair of Samsung headphones, $40, sound very nice, very flat. Which, if you don't know anything about music or audio terms, flat is good. When you're making stuff, bass is fun, and treble is good for movies. That's the rule that I've come up with. You could find your own. Everybody's ears are different. You might find different things, but in general, you want headphones to sound quote unquote flat. You want everything to be even. You don't want the bass to be too loud. You don't want the high ends to be too loud. And those headphones, because a lot of companies will want to blend the two or not, or do whatever the hell they want for whatever demographic they're doing. But those headphones are nice and flat. They sound very nice. They get pretty good clean sound, and those are by default open back. But they made a not a deluxe version, but I think like a Mach 2 version, Mark 2. Do you guys say Mark 2 or Mach 2? I say Mach 2, even though that's not correct. But they made a version that is closed back, which I prefer because my room gets very hot and I have the fan on very high, so I prefer to have closed back headphones when I'm seriously editing audio of people talking or I'm mixing my music, which by the way the fan is off right now, which is why I wanted to make this one shorter. Let me know. I'm gonna do the next one with the fan on, and let me know which one you prefer. I bought those, and I liked them a lot. I bought those Samsung headphones, and I liked them a lot. However, I wished that they didn't push so far in on my head. They're not uncomfortable, but for long periods of time, they make your head feel hot. And if your head is already going through not pains, but like mild discomfort from sitting down with headphones on all day. They will not help at all, I feel. At least for me, they push on my head just a tiny bit too hard. The band is nice and comfortable. Don't notice the band at all. But they're a hybrid between, and it's my biggest irk, hybrid between over-ear headphones and on-ear headphones, where over-ear headphones are they'll sit perfectly over your ears. I have a pair of Razer Kraken V2s, most comfortable headphones on the entire planet. They sit right over your ear. They're super big. They give your ear plenty of room to breathe. They're very bass heavy, but I don't mind that. I'll keep them around just for fun. That's what I like to do. I keep them around for fun. The Samsungs sound great, but the comfortableness of them isn't very high, so I needed a pair of headphones that was flattened because I'm not gonna do editing. I'll do editing with those headphones because those are fine for just like a few hour sessions. I could do that. But when I want to like just sit down and enjoy like what I'm watching or anything like that, but I still want everything to sound good, I need another pair of headphones. So I can't remember. Actually, I think I have the box right here in my special drawer. Here we go. I put a bowl down there. I was eating Cheetos chips earlier. These are. Oh, I just dropped the box. Well, this is the Audio Technica Skinny ATH EQ 300M. That is the only thing I could say about this product from the packaging because the rest of the packaging is in Japanese, which I did not know when I ordered it. However, they are over ear headphones, just kind of like those cheap headphones that you get at like Dollar Tree that sit directly on your ear, but they're very thin. They're not like an inch thick. They're like a quarter of a centimeter thick. They're like very, very thin. They clip onto your ear with a little clear clip that kind of just barely sits on your ear. They barely hover when you wear them. They barely hover above your ear, and it's very nice. They're a tad bit more bass heavy, but that's okay because the seal isn't good at all. So a lot of the bass leaks out, and it ends up making the sound almost perfectly flat. And it's great. I noticed unboxing them that because they have the Y split where it's a cord into the computer and then it splits off for the two headphones because they each clip on your ear. And I noticed that one of the cords was dramatically shorter than the other. And I thought it was a defect at first, and then I was like, oh no, you kind of like swing it over your shoulder, I think. But then I realized as I walk around with the headphones, if you tug on the cord, then the left ear one will pop open because they flip open like a door and it will pop open. So if you're talking to somebody, you could just yank on the cord very lightly. You could yank on the cord and then the left ear will pop open and now you can have a full-fledged conversation with your music turned down and it's amazing. It's something that I didn't think about that wasn't like an actual mechanical design, like there's no like springs or anything like that. It's just something that happens to work and it's amazing, and it embraces what makes us human. I feel that the right one clips a little bit harder, so it's meant to stay on your ear. So if one falls out, you still have the one in your right ear. The one in your left ear has a shorter cable, and it clips a little bit looser. But that's because that's your go-to if you want to start talking to somebody. That's your go-to. It just immediately opens up and it allows you to have a normal conversation. When you're ready to go back to running or walking or whatever you're doing, go back to listening to your music and just close it with a little touch. I think it's wonderful. They're a wonderful pair of headphones. I plan to buy many backup pairs, not many backup pairs, but a healthy amount of backup pairs, maybe like two, because I really do enjoy them. They don't feel fragile, but I will be very sad if and when the day that they do diminish in quality to the point where I can no longer use them. And I look forward to using them every day until then. Okay, well, I don't know how to end this.